Welcome back. As Michigan continues to grow as a travel destination, a new report from Airbnb shows just how much short-term rentals are boosting the state's economy. In 2024 alone, Airbnb travel generated about $1.3 billion in economic activity in Michigan, supporting an estimated 17,000 jobs and bringing in hundreds of millions in labor income and tax revenue. Joining us this morning is Wendy Block, Senior Vice President of Business Advocacy at the Michigan Chamber of Commerce. Wendy, good morning to you. Thanks for being with us. We're talking about really big numbers, like in the billions here. Can you talk about the significance of these numbers for the state's economy?
Yeah, so I think we all know that Michigan is a tourism state. We are a great state filled with lots of really wonderful places to visit and to spend disposable income. And this report by Airbnb just kind of shows the picture of that, just how many people travel to Michigan each year. 2.1 million guests stayed in an Airbnb last year, and that's part of a bigger picture. Over 128 million people came to Michigan last year. That's nearly 12 times our state's population. And they're spending their money here. They spent an estimated $29 billion on things like lodging and food. And so we have a lot of really great options for people, not only in that short-term rental space, but in our amazing hotels and in just lots of different establishments across Michigan.
Yeah, so of course, short-term rentals like Airbnbs being like one little piece of like the greater scheme of things, the bigger puzzle here. How important is this kind of tourism-driven spending for our small and maybe local businesses across Michigan? I know we've got a lot of great local retailers that are not big corporations. There are, neighbors here in Grand Rapids, or our neighbors in Lansing, neighbors in Detroit. Can you talk about that and just how important this type of spending is for those businesses?
Oh, yes, we have so many businesses across Michigan, especially small businesses that are relying on tourists to come to their town and to spend their money in their shops and in their restaurants. Certainly in northern Michigan this year, they are expecting to have a good season, really need those tourisms to drive the local economy. Those 3 months are kind of crucial to their success because, of course, when the tourists leave, there's less kind of money coming into the business to pay for wages and other just capital expenses. So this is key for Michigan, making sure that we have lots of good options for people who are traveling in-state and from out of state to come to Michigan. And we really just want to make sure that this continues to be a vibrant part of our state's economy.
Yeah, one of the more interesting things I think is that how when Airbnbs pop up in, smaller towns, they help kind of contribute to some of those smaller retailers, smaller mom and pop shops as well. Can you talk about that? How have short-term rentals maybe in communities that don't have hotels or see much tourism at all? How has that kind of boosted things in those smaller communities?
Yeah, this study shows that about 17,500 jobs are supported by short-term rentals in local communities. So that is key, right? They are contributing about $811 million in labor income. So these are real dollars in real communities. So when a dollar is spent on a short-term rental, that means that people are also needing to go to the grocery store and go to restaurants and to spend their money kind of in those local communities. And that means that there are jobs in those local communities because of that spending. So tourism will continue to be and always has been a key part of our state's economy. And I think people need to feel good about when they go on vacation and just what that means for that local economy and how they're doing their part to make sure those local residents are thriving.
Yeah, I want to ask you, because I think up until about 15, 20 years ago, you would just find a hotel or a resort to go to. And now we have all of these options, right? We've got the VRBOs of the world. We've got the Airbnbs of the world here. Can you just talk about how that landscape has changed? And are we seeing more people trend toward Airbnbs, or are we seeing a healthy mix of both?
I think there's a healthy mix, and we need there to be a healthy ecosystem where people have lots of different options, right? They can make choices based on what works for them and for their family and for their price point. Some people like the traditional hotel. They like the daily housekeeping and that, they have the certain number of beds and they know what they're going to get with a hotel. Others want to venture out. They maybe want to cook dinner at night, or they want to make sure they can eat breakfast at home before they go out, or to be able to spread out a little bit more. If you have little kids, I've been in the situation myself where you want to put the kids in a room and mom and dad want to be able to watch TV or sit out by the fire in the evening. And so this is all key together. They can live alongside of each other, and everyone can collectively be successful when we have choices.
Yeah, again, we're talking about an impact in the billions here, according to the Airbnb report. What sort of, I guess, industries or sectors across Michigan does that trickle down into when it kind of comes into our state's revenue here? What is that? How does that trickle down?
It's mostly being spent on food and other things, but it goes to entertainment, right? People choose to go if they're in northern Michigan and there's a putt-putt course nearby. People are going to choose that, or maybe they're going to rent an ATV, or they're going to, go see some other tourist attraction. Maybe spend money at our state parks on entry. And so, while most of the money that is being spent really is kind of being spent on the rental or the hotel room itself and on food, it certainly goes out from there in terms of people just kind of getting out and about, right? You don't go on vacation necessarily just to sit in a house or sit in your hotel room. You want to explore and you want to figure out what Michigan has to offer. You might want to go pick cherries, or you might want to hike the Sleeping Bear National Dunes, which is amazing. So lots of different options for people around, and lots of different ways that they're spending their money.
Yeah, Sleeping Bear is amazing. I'll have to agree with you on that. Let me ask you, because you mentioned that the majority of the money from tourists is going to go to that hotel or Airbnb or whatever type of stay. It's going to go toward that cost. Now, with that cost, we get some tax revenue back. The state does. So where does that go to? Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so that benefits us all, right? When people spend money on a short-term rental or they spend money on a hotel room, that money converts into tax revenue, which then is allocated by the legislature to pay for the things that the residents in our states need, whether it's roads or schools or other key services. So just from those short-term rentals, I don't have the hotel numbers in front of me, but that's about $355 million in tax revenue each year that goes into the state's coffers and ultimately benefits all Michiganders. So again, this is very key to our state. Our state's population actually balloons to over 12 times its size because of tourism, and mostly in those summer months. So if you think about that, we need those 12 times that multiplier of 12 people to kind of really drive our state's economy.
Yeah, around the state, is it hard to tell where people during what season are going to different areas of the state? Are you guys able to tell that? And if so, where are some of those key areas?
I have seen some hot maps related to that. Certainly, people are going up north a lot in the summer,
Yeah.
either because they own a home themselves, or they want to kind of experience northern Michigan in its finest during the summer months. But we're certainly seeing people choose places like Grand Rapids, an amazing downtown, lots of things to offer, and people who are looking for an urban setting might be choosing that. And certainly our coast. Michigan is really just privileged to have such amazing coastlines kind of all around us as a peninsula state. And so, we're seeing a lot of activity in those areas too. So it is certainly focused on those coasts and up north, but I believe that people are also kind of choosing the cities and to explore those too.
Yeah, and I think after COVID, it kind of left a big question mark immediately after the pandemic for a lot of local communities that really thrived off of tourism. Can you talk about how the state, in the way of short-term rentals and lodging and tourism in general, how has our state bounced back since the 2020 pandemic to now?
Yeah, so 2024 actually was a record-breaking year for Michigan. I think there were still a lot of questions in 2023 about people and their travel habits and whether they were really willing to venture out, to explore Michigan beyond after the COVID pandemic. But in 2024, we had record-breaking numbers, and I think that has shown in just the number of people that are choosing short-term rentals and choosing to stay in hotels really we are fully back, and we hope that people this summer, even though we know, costs are tight, people are feeling the pressure of rising costs across the board. If they aren't able to maybe take that dream vacation, maybe they're able to spend a few weeks or a few days up north or on one of our coasts, and to spend their money more locally and still get away, right? A lot of people are looking to get away, but they're looking to do so economically, and we would hope that people would look at Michigan first, because Michigan is an amazing place to be in the summer.
Yeah, so you mentioned kind of all the constraints in our world that we live in today. In the future, what do you hope for tourism for the state, or maybe short-term rentals for the state? Do you think we need more short-term rentals, more hotels, or it's an open-ended question. What do you hope for the future?
Yeah, so we believe in market dynamics, and that the market will kind of dictate how this evolves. But we certainly hope that people will continue to look to Michigan as a great place to travel. I know in the past, it's kind of just been those Midwestern states. They look to come to Michigan and to spend their money here. But we're starting to hear from people in Washington, D.C. and New York City, and even on the West Coast, who say, I had a friend who went to Michigan one summer, and they went up north, and they said it was amazing. And we hope that that word will continue to get out, and that we will continue to attract visitors from far and wide to our great state, and that people will see that Michigan is an amazing place to be, and something that they should consider, not only to visit, but maybe even to come and live, because we certainly need population as well.
All right. Wendy, we got to leave the conversation there. We appreciate your time and your insight. Of course, very interesting stuff as we start to get into summer and the peak tourism travel time for Michigan. So we appreciate your time and your insight. Thank you very much.
Thank you.